The crowd was louder than thunder. Lights flashed, cameras floated in the air, and the galactic arena shook with excitement. In the center of the giant arena stood two girls, one human, one alien. The human was young, maybe 18, her brown hair was tied back, her uniform was old and worn. She had no weapons, no armor, just bruises on her hands and sharp focus in her eyes. Her name was Ray. Across from her stood Xelyra, the alien warrior. She was tall, with silver skin and burning blue eyes. Her muscles were carved like stone. The crowd chanted her name. Was the champion of the galaxy, born and trained to fight? She smiled as she looked at Ray like she was nothing. The countdown began. 10, ... 9, ... Ray didn't blink. 8, ... People laughed in the crowd. The human won't last a minute. Someone shouted, 6, ... 5, ... XE. Lyra raised her hand too. Wave to the fans. 4, ... 3, ... Ray closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. 2, ... before the bell rang. Screen froze and we went back 7 days. Ray lived in the broken city of Old New Chicago. Once a proud city of Earth, now under the control of the Karuan Empire. Buildings were half destroyed. Drones watched everything. Most people were afraid to speak. Raid was so. She stood in the market, watching as a Karuan officer shouted at a woman for picking up fruit without scanning it. The woman was shaking, holding her child. Ray clenched her fists. The officer pushed. The woman Ray stepped forward. She's just a mother. Leave her alone. The officer turned to her. You humans never learn. He moved to hit Ray, but she was faster. She ducked and punched him in the face. Blood sprayed. Everything stopped. Alarms screamed. More Karuan soldiers appeared. Ash, Ray was grabbed and thrown to the ground. People gasped, but said nothing. Helping a human could get them killed. They dragged Ray into a black ship and flew her to orbit. She sat in a dark room, hands tied. A door opened. A tall alien in a black uniform stepped in. His name was Commander Vexel. He stared at her like she was an insect. You attacked a Karuan officer. That means death, he said calmly. Ray looked straight at him. Do it then. Didn't smile. Or maybe not. The galactic combat. Trials begin in 1 week. We need a human to represent your species. Ray's eyes narrowed. So you want me to fight and die for your entertainment? Exactly, you'll lose? Everyone knows it. It'll remind the galaxy that humans are weak. Ray leaned forward. And if I win? Vexel raised an eyebrow. Won't? But what if I do? He laughed. Then the galaxy might pay attention. Ray smiled slowly. Then I'll do it. 3 days later, she arrived at the galactic arena ship. It was the size of a small moon, orbiting far above any planet. Aliens from across the galaxy came to watch the trials. There were thousands of species, some with wings, others with glowing skin, some with eyes all around their heads. Ray stepped out of the ship and into the blinding lights of the docking. Bay? The guards pushed her forward. Cameras turned to her immediately. The crowd booed. Is that the human? She looks so small. They're letting her fight? What a joke. She was taken to a cell-like room. No windows, just a metal bed and a screen on the wall. That night the screen came on. A giant face filled it. Silver skin. Glowing blue eyes. .xe. Lyra. Double quotes. Hello? Human, the alien girl said. I'll be your end. Ray didn't reply. Xelyra laughed. You're weak. Slow. You break too easily. Do you know how many humans I've killed in training? Ray stared into the camera. Try me. The next morning, Ray was taken to the training chambers. The walls were lined with weapons, but she was told not to touch any. Her opponent in the prelim match would have weapons. She would not. Humans can only win with tools, said a tall insectoid trainer. You're not allowed to use any. Ray shrugged. Fine. They watched her run, punch, jump. They wrote notes on tablets and shook their heads. She's not even average for a human, one muttered. She heard them and smiled. Good. Let them underestimate her. Ray trained alone at night. She had no high-tech equipment, no healing pods, just old tricks she learned from her father, boxing coach before Earth fell. She remembered his voice. Keep your stance low. Watch the eyes, not the hands. Let them get angry. Then strike. Use broken metal to make a shadow opponent on the wall. She practiced breathing under pressure. When tired, she fought harder, and she remembered every word Xelyra said, every insult, every arrogant smile. On the 5th day, Ray met someone in the shadows, a girl named Tessa, human, hiding in the vents. A rebel, you're Ray, she whispered. I saw what you did, hitting that officer. What do you want? To help? Why? Because if you win, people will believe again. Tessa gave her a hidden map of the arena. Escape routes. Weak points. Even files about Xelyra's illegal implants that made her faster and stronger than others were allowed to be. Ray now had a new reason to fight. She wasn't just in the arena to survive. She was there to expose a lie. And now we return. To the arena, the countdown had ended. The bell rang. Xelyra dashed forward, impossibly fast. Ray barely rolled aside in time. The punch hit the air where her head had been. The crowd roared. Ray stood and breathed slowly. This was it. They wanted her to break, but she wouldn't. She had nothing to lose and everything to prove. The hologram of Ray's near-death dodge was playing on every screen across the galaxy. Clips of Xelyra smiling arrogantly. Slow motion of her punch missing Ray by inches. Alien commentators laughed. She almost crushed the little human in one. Hit, she's lucky Xelyra didn't finish it. They didn't see Ray's eyes. They didn't see her plan. They only saw a fragile girl with no armor who survived by chance. That's exactly what Ray wanted. After the match, Ray limped back to her cold cell. She dropped on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Her ribs ached. Her shoulders were raw. But she was still breathing. Then the walls lit up. Xelyra's face appeared again larger than before. Cold, perfect, and glowing with victory. You lasted 10 seconds, Xelyra said mockingly. Impressive for a human. Ray sat up. 10 seconds more than you expected. Xelyra's lips curved slightly. They only let you live so I can. End you in front of the galaxy. You're part of the show. Ray leaned closer. Then I'll make sure they never forget it. Xelyra laughed. Oh, they'll remember. The girl who tried. The screen shut off. Over the next 2 days, Ray's name became the butt of every joke on the arena ship. In alien bars, they made fun of her broken nose. Kids wore masks of her. Crying face, toy dolls of Xelyra, crushing a human sold fast. Memes spread across galactic networks. Human weakness. Now in 4K. Ray walked the corridors with guards. Crowds booed. Some spat. Others threw food. You'll die in round 1. A giant crab alien shouted, Don't slip in your own tears, laughed another. Ray didn't react. She kept walking. Inside, she was burning. The training rooms got colder. The trials were about to begin. Ray was now scheduled to face a Zernak. A tall, 3-armed alien covered in thick red armor, known for ripping opponents apart. He'd ended fights in under a minute. The day before the trial, Ray visited the arena floor alone. She stood in the center of the ring, was silent and empty. She closed her eyes and imagined the fight. She watched his arms, his balance. Pattern, not how to block, how to make him miss. She remembered something her father once said. It's not about being stronger. It's about being smarter. Let your enemies show off, and break them when they think they've already won. That night, Tessa met Ray again in the maintenance tunnels. They picked Zernak on purpose, Tessa whispered. He's killed 5 humans before. This is meant to scare Earth into silence. Then I'll make them scream, Ray said. Tessa handed her a tiny chip. It has data on Zernak's nervous system. He's fast, but his lower left side has a timing delay. It's a glitch in his cloning. Good, Ray replied. I only need 1 opening. The next day, the crowd was 3 times bigger. Billions were watching across the stars. Cameras hovered from every angle. Ray stood on the arena floor, heart racing. A large cage opened and Xernak stepped out. He roared. 3 arms flexed. Spikes clicked on his shoulders. One of his arms held a glowing energy axe. Rey had nothing, just her fists. Her breath and her mind. The bell rang charged. The crowd screamed with excitement. Rey ducked his first swing. The air cracked beside her head. She rolled, dodged. Spun, but one heavy elbow clipped her shoulder and sent her sliding across the floor. Blood spilled from her mouth. Xernak growled. "Stay down, human." Rey wiped the blood and stood. "You talk too much." He lunged again, axe swinging from above. Rey dived and rolled between his legs. One of his claws barely missed her back. She grabbed a loose shard of metal from the floor, not to kill, to fake a stumble. She dragged it loudly against the ground. Zurnak. Turned sharply, expecting a weapon. Rey wasn't there. She was already behind him. She drove her elbow into his lower. Left side, his body twitched. She hit again, and again. Xernak stumbled forward. Rey jumped on his back, wrapped her arm around his throat, slammed her fist into the glitch spot over and over. Xernak collapsed. The crowd went silent. Then, roaring not just for Xernak, for Rey, alien news feeds couldn't believe it. The human girl wins around. Xernak defeated. Was it a fluke or something more? Xelyra watched from her private chamber. Her eyes narrowed. She's learning. The commander beside her, Vexel, looked uneasy. Should we ... slow her down? Xelyra stood. No. Let her come. She smiled, but for the first time it wasn't arrogance. It was uncertainty. That night, Rey returned to her room. Tessa was waiting in the shadows, grinning. You did it. Rey sat down, sore and bleeding. He was strong, but he thought he already won. Tessa gave her a cloth. Now, the galaxy's watching. You've got their attention. Rey looked. At the screen, the news replayed her fight again and again. But she wasn't looking at herself. She was watching Xelyra. I've got hers too. The arena lights dimmed, then flashed blood red. It was a new day, a new match. The entire galaxy waited to see if the human girl's last win was a mistake or a warning. Rey stood still in the preparation chamber. Her knuckles were bruised. Her ribs were still cracked from the Xernak fight. Her shoulders stung when she moved. But her eyes were sharper now, her breathing calm. Outside, a crowd of billions roared for blood. Rey wasn't their favorite. Not yet. She was their curiosity. A glitch in the system. Inside the shadows of the high balconies, the alien elite watched in silence. Their robes sparkled. Their faces were unreadable. But behind their calm expressions, many felt something they hadn't felt toward a human in years. Doubt. The next opponent was announced. Entering the arena, Ravzek warrior class. Plasma-grade limbs, 2-time tournament executioner. The air shook as a large, plated creature stepped into the ring. Its legs moved like a spider's, but its upper body was humanoid. 4 arms. 2 carried twin energy blades. The other 2 sparked with plasma whips that hummed through the air. Rey's name followed. The crowd didn't boo this time. Some even clapped. Some were hoping she'd survive again. A few now wanted her to win. The gates opened. She walked into the light. The moment she entered, Ravzek charged. No introduction, no words. Just death. Rey dropped, rolled, and flipped over her left shoulder. The plasma whip missed her head by an inch. It struck the arena wall and burned a deep, black scar into the metal. She moved fast, faster than last time. Ravzek twisted around and swung the blade. Rey ducked, then sidestepped, and spun behind him, and landed a solid kick to the back of his knee joint. It barely made him stumble. He roared and slammed one fist into the ground, causing the arena floor to crack. In the control room above, Xelyra watched. With her arms crossed, her face was unreadable. She's adapting, said Commander Vexel beside her. She's studying her enemies, Xelyra replied, narrowing her eyes. She's thinking like us. You sound impressed. I'm not, Xelyra said coldly. She still bleeds like the rest. Down below, Rey was bleeding again. A slice on her leg. A burn mark across her forearm. Rafsak was chasing her in wide, sweeping attacks. His body was built for power. She was betting on timing. She remembered what Tessa told her before the fight. He's slow after the second plasma burst. It overheats. You have 3 seconds to hit him hard. Ray danced around the swings, faking exhaustion. Her breath was heavy now, but it wasn't weakness. It was bait. Ravzek launched his second plasma burst. The whips cracked across the arena. One grazed her arm. Smelled like burned cloth and blood. Then the whips flickered now. Ray ran straight at him. He lifted a blade. She dropped, slid under him, and slammed her elbow into the energy node beneath his backplate. Tessa's map showed her exactly where to strike. The plasma field burst. Sparks exploded from his limbs. The crowd went dead silent. Ravzek collapsed. Twitching, Ray stood, covered in dust, blood, and sweat. She didn't smile. She just walked away. Later that night, in her room, the galaxy reacted. Alien newscasters argued on air. A human beating Ravzek? Impossible. They're cheating. She's using hidden tech. No, she's just fighting differently. Humans think on their feet. She's unpredictable. The comments rolled in across the net. Some mocked her. Some warned others. But some believed. Tessa arrived with a data chip in her hand. This came from inside Xelyra's chamber. It's real. She plugged it into Ray's screen. It was old security footage. A lab. A young Xelyra, maybe. 15 hooked up to machines. Crying. Needles in her spine. Scientists talking about speeding up her muscle growth. Programming combat reflexes. Injecting non-upgrades. She wasn't born a champion, Tessa whispered. She was made. Ray stared at the screen in silence. She's like me, Ray said. Just in a different kind of cage. Then why is she mocking us? Ray didn't answer. In the command chamber, Xelyra stood before the High Warlord. You were supposed to end her in the first match, he growled. She's still just human, she said. She'll break. She's a symbol now. And symbols are dangerous? I'll crush her in the final match. You better. If she wins again, the rebellion will spread. Xelyra turned and walked out, her fingers tightening into a fist. The next day, Ray stood before the wall of champions, alien faces carved into gold. Xelyra's face was at the top. Calm, strong, perfect. Below that empty space, no human name had. Ever made it there? She stared for a long time, then whispered, Not yet. But deep inside the ship, behind locked doors, Karun officials were planning something worse. They couldn't let a human keep winning. So they brought in something illegal. Something from the edge of the galaxy. Something Ray had no idea was coming. Something that didn't care about the rules. The night before the next round, the air on the arena ship changed. The usual cheers, jokes, and bets became whispers. Something had shifted. The Empire was quiet. Too quiet. Inside her cell, Ray sharpened her reflexes with a training ball made. From scrap, she was moving faster now, breathing more evenly. Her pain was still there, but it was part of her now. Then the floor lights turned red. Her next match had been moved up. No warning. No rest. Just like the Empire wanted in the crowd. The announcers were different. Less joking. Less confident. The screen lit up with fire, and a deep alien voice boomed across the galaxy. Today's match. The human versus the Hellspawn of Rax. The audience shifted. The Hellspawn wasn't a fighter, it was a weapon. A bioengineered beast banned in 10 sectors. Razor skin. Acid blood. Programmed only to kill. No honor. No mercy. Ray didn't know that yet. She stepped into the arena with her fists up, expecting another soldier. What came out of the gate was something else. The creature slithered. First, then stood. 10 feet tall, thick armored limbs, split mouth full of dripping black fangs. Its eyes glowed red like dying stars. Its chains around its neck rattled until they snapped. Even the crowd gasped. Ray froze. It wasn't here to fight, it was here to end. The bell rang. The creature moved like a storm. Ray dodged the first lunge, The ground cracked beneath its fists. She flipped over its back, but the spines on its shoulder ripped her side open. Blood splashed onto the arena floor. She landed, hard, her vision blurred. The pain was like fire. The announcers shouted in panic. "This is an execution. She's not ready for this. This isn't legal." But no one stopped the match. No. One ever stopped a human from dying. Ray crawled backward. The creature roared and charged again. She kicked dirt into its eyes, one blinked shut. She used that second to get behind it and slam a broken pipe. Into its lower joint, it screeched. She hit again and again, until it turned and backhanded her across the arena. Her body rolled to a stop. Silence. Blood dripped from her mouth. She couldn't feel her legs in the command room. Xelyra stood. "She's finished," said Vexel. Xelyra didn't answer. She watched Ray's hand twitch. The camera zoomed in. Ray was coughing, barely moving. Her eyes opened slowly. And then she smiled. The creature came for the final blow. Ray grabbed the dirt and pushed herself up. She was shaking, breathing fire. Her entire side was torn, but she stood and shouted with her last bit of voice, "I'm still here." The crowd went silent. She ran at the creature. It lunged forward. She slid under it, jammed a metal bar deep into the soft space behind its leg, then jumped up, grabbed its spine, and screamed as she drove her knee into the same wound again and again until the monster collapsed, roaring in pain. It didn't die, but it couldn't fight anymore. She stood above it, swaying. The bell rang. Ray had won blood. It was everywhere. She fell to her knees. The medics rushed in. The crowd exploded. Not in laughter, not in mockery, in awe. In the control tower, Xelyra stared at the screen. Vexel looked uneasy. She should have died. That thing was supposed to rip her apart. Xelyra whispered, "She bleeds like us, but she doesn't fall." Gray woke up. In a recovery pod, her body stitched together by alien machines. Her eyes slowly opened. Tessa sat beside her, smiling but crying. "They tried to kill you." "I know," Ray whispered. "You beat it." Ray didn't smile, barely. "Now the galaxy sees you, and they don't see weakness anymore." Ray turned to look at the news feed. Commentators were shouting across the screen. That was no match, that was murder, and she survived. What if humans aren't weak at all? The hashtag she stood, was trending across alien networks. People were angry, some were hopeful, and for the first time in years, EID was being noticed, deep in the darkest chamber of the ship. A red signal blinked. The Emperor had seen enough, and he gave a private order to Xelyra. "End this. If she wins again, we lose control." Xelyra looked at the command and deleted it. She was no longer sure what side she was on. The video of Ray defeating the Hellspawn spread faster than the Empire expected. It didn't just go viral, it sparked something. Across distant colonies and enslaved worlds, people gathered to watch it again and again. Some cried, some shouted, and many who had once given up felt something dangerous. Hope. Inside her cell, Ray woke slowly. Her back still ached. Her ribs felt like glass. But she was alive. Tessa entered, breathing fast, holding a stolen data crystal. "I found it," she whispered. "You need to see this." Ray sat up. Tessa placed the crystal into the wall panel. A hidden file opened. It was Xelyra, but not the warrior Ray knew. This version was younger, barely 16. She was strapped to a table, her skin pale, her face terrified, round her cold. Alien scientists spoke without emotion. Injecting reflex booster. Increase aggression programming. Override emotional suppression. The public prefers confidence. Begin memory edits. Ray's jaw clenched. Xelyra hadn't been trained. She'd been built. Tessa looked at Ray. They made her into a weapon. "She's not the only one," Ray said. She watched the footage again. The way Xelyra cried. The way her hand shook before the needles hit. She remembered the arrogance, the taunts, the cruelty. But now she saw something different behind Xelyra's eyes, call in fear. Later that night, Ray sat alone in the training chamber. She didn't practice. She didn't stretch. She stared at the wall, thinking a voice echoed from behind. "You're not what I expected." Ray turned. Xelyra stood at the door. No guards, no cameras, just her. "What do you want?" Ray asked. Xelyra stepped closer. "To see the human who bleeds and keeps standing, you came to gloat," Xelyra said quietly. "I came to remember who I was?" Ray didn't answer. Xelyra sighed. "When I was 13, they said I was born to lead, but I was just built to obey." She looked Ray in the eyes. "They made me strong, fast, perfect, but they forgot something." "What? That perfection doesn't teach you how to be human?" Ray stepped forward. "So why mock me? I try to crush Earth, because if I didn't, I'd start to believe we were the same. I'd bet. Would break me." There was a long silence. Then Ray said, "It's not too late." But Xelyra shook her head. "For you, maybe. But I've already done too much." She turned to leave, stopped, then whispered, "Be ready. They won't let you reach the final match alive." The next day, Ray returned to her training chamber, but something felt wrong. Guards watched her more closely. The cameras had been turned off. She was alone, suddenly. The lights flickered. A door opened that wasn't supposed to. 3 shadowy figures entered to lead assassins, sent not to compete, but to kill. The first one lunged. Ray dodged, but not fast enough. A blade scraped her arm. She fell, rolled, and grabbed a metal rod from the training rack. They didn't speak, just attacked. She fought with everything she had. The second one tried to pin her. She headbutted him, spun, and cracked his knee. The third threw a shock dart. It hit her shoulder. Her vision blurred. She screamed, forced herself to move, and drove the rod into the wall. Sparks exploded, blinding them both. Ray used that second to run. Tessa found her bleeding in the vents. They sent assassins, Ray said, panting. Tessa's face went pale. "It's because you're winning." "They're scared." "They should be," Ray whispered. "Because now I'm done playing their game." The next day, Ray stood in front of a stolen broadcast terminal. Tessa connected the drive. The video played. The galaxy watched. Xelyra, crying, injected, reprogrammed. It wasn't just a secret anymore. It was proof. The Empire was lying. Their champion was fake. The crowd was in shock. Many refused to believe it, but many more did. Xelyra sat in her chamber as the footage played. She didn't cry. She just stared at the screen and whispered. Finally, the rebellion didn't start with guns. It started with a truth, with a girl who refused to stay down and another hood. Been broken for so long, forgot she was ever human inside. The final match was now confirmed. Ray versus Xelyra, champion versus underdog. Built power versus raw will. But this time, everything was different. Because now Ray wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for everyone who had ever been mocked, broken, or told they were nothing. The galactic feeds were on fire. Billions of voices clashed online. Some called Ray a liar, others called her a hero. But one thing was certain, the Empire had been exposed. Now the galaxy knew that. Xelyra wasn't born great, she was manufactured. To be a weapon, a puppet, a symbol of alien perfection built in a lab. And Ray had pulled off the mask for everyone to see, but the Empire wasn't just going to sit and watch. They wanted revenge, and they wanted it fast. Inside, in a private war chamber, aboard the arena ship, top Karun officials argued, she must be eliminated now. No F, we kill her. We prove her right. The people are watching. If Xelyra loses in a fair fight, it will start a galactic revolt. Commander Vexel turned toward the screen. On it, Ray stood in the training arena. No guards, no backup. Just her fists wrapped and her body covered in bruises. He narrowed his eyes. Then don't make it fair. That same night, Ray received a challenge notification on her wall. It wasn't a standard protocol alert. It had no team logo, no legal code, just one message. Skip the finals. Face me now. Xelyra. Tessa leaned over Ray's shoulder. It's a trap. She knows you're hurt. She wants to finish it before the truth spreads further. I know, Ray said. Then why accept it? Ray turned slowly, her voice steady. Because I'm not here to win a trophy. I'm here to break their story. The announcement shocked the galaxy. Early final confirmed, human versus champion. The fight was moved up 2 days. No rest, no prep, just pure combat. Xelyra appeared on galactic broadcast one last time before the match. Her words were sharp. The human girl thinks she's exposed something. But weakness can never replace power. Tomorrow, I will remind the galaxy why I wear the crown. Ray was silent. No media talk. No messages. Just focus. She trained with Tessa in the shadows. No cameras. No lights. They studied Xelyra's old fights. They timed her footwork. They reviewed her hesitation patterns half-seconds, where she lowered her guard after a second combo. She's still fast, Tessa said. Faster than you? Stronger too? I know. Then how do you beat her? Ray wrapped her fists in old tape. I bait the monster. Fight day arrived. The crowd was silent as Ray walked into the arena. Not because they didn't care, but because this was different. No music, no show. Just tension and fear. They'd seen Ray take on monsters. But now, she was facing the galaxy's most engineered killer. A girl raised in fire and sharpened into a sword. Xelyra entered from the far gate. Her steps were perfect, her armor dark and gleaming, her face emotionless. But her eyes flickered just once as she looked at Ray. Not with hate, but with doubt. The bell rang. Xelyra attacked first, blinding speed. A flurry of punches aimed at Ray's ribs, neck, chest. Ray blocked one, then two, but the third struck her jaw. She hit the floor hard. The crowd gasped. Blood dripped from Ray's mouth. Xelyra stood above her. You were never strong enough. Ray looked up and whispered. Then why are you trembling? Xelyra flinched. Bait set Ray. Stood again. She didn't dodge this time. She leaned into the next swing. It clipped her shoulder. But she grabbed Xelyra's arm and twisted hard. They spun out. Ray kicked low. Xelyra blocked. Then Ray faked a high punch and instead drove her knee into Xelyra's midsection. Xelyra stumbled, just for a moment, but Ray saw it. She remembered what the rebels told her. Xelyra's body is fast, but her implants lag after high-speed bursts. She has to pause. Reset. That's your window. The problem? Ray had to survive that burst first, and she wasn't sure her body could take it. Xelyra went full speed. The air cracked around her as she unleashed 10 strikes in less than 5 seconds. Ray was hit in the stomach. Ribs sighed, back until she dropped again. Cameras zoomed in. The crowd leaned forward. Was this it? Then Ray bleeding. Broken lifted one. Shaking hand. Middle finger up. The crowd exploded. Xelyra snarled. She charged again. But Ray wasn't there. She'd rolled. Sideways, barely dodging the final blow. She stood spun. Punched the implant node behind Xelyra's left shoulder with everything. She had. A spark shot out. Xelyra screamed. The connection to her reflex. Booster failed. Her speed dropped by a lot. Ray struck again right. In the ribs. Then in the jaw. Then drove her elbow into the back of Xelyra's neck. The champion fell too. One knee. The camera caught everything. The perfect alien girl. Falling to a bleeding, fragile human. The arena was dead silent. Xelyra looked up at Ray. Their eyes met. And in that moment, Xelyra whispered, just loud enough for Ray to hear, "Finish it." But Ray didn't strike. She stepped back, turned to the cameras and raised her hand. Not to kill, but to prove a point. Xelyra wasn't the monster. The system that made her was, and Ray had broken that system without becoming like them. The arena stood in total silence. Xelyra knelt on the cracked floor, gasping, her systems fried, her strength fading. Ray stood over her, bloody, bruised, barely standing, but with her hands still raised. Not as a warrior, not as a killer. A message. The camera feed streamed across the galaxy. Every colony, every resistance cell, every slave planet. They all saw the same thing. A human girl spared the alien champion, not out of weakness, but because she didn't need to destroy her enemy to win. In the Empire's control chamber, alarms flashed. Reports came in from dozens of systems. Civil unrest on Xelyra 5. Riots reported on Earth Sector 7. Rebel broadcasts flooding outer planets. Hashtag. She could have killed her trending on 9,000 networks. Commander Vexel shouted into a communicator, "Shut it down. Cut the feeds now." But it was too late. Signal had already gone wide, and the galaxy wasn't just watching, it was listening. In her chamber, Xelyra lay on a medical table. Machines worked to stabilize her vitals. She opened her eyes to see Ray sitting nearby, her own shoulder wrapped in alien bandage, a cracked rib monitor blinking red on her chest. "You could have ended me," Xelyra whispered. Ray leaned forward. "You were never the enemy." Xelyra looked away. "Don't understand. I chose to fight for them." "No," Ray said softly. "You had to. You just forgot what choosing felt like." That night, Ray appeared on a hacked galactic feed, standing in a stolen control room with Tessa beside her. No lights, no flashy intro, just retired, bleeding, and real. She looked into the camera and spoke to every forgotten soul. "They said we were weak. They said humans could never win. But I didn't win with strength. I won by remembering something they've tried to erase for centuries, that kindness isn't weakness, that mercy isn't surrender, and that being human is not something to be ashamed of. It's our power." The feed went black, and the rebellion began to roar. Over the next 2 days, worlds under Empire control erupted. On Juno Station, alien and human workers stopped the machines and hoisted Ray's symbol in secret, a clenched fist with an open palm beneath it. On Old Mars Street, graffiti of Ray standing over Xelyra appeared on walls overnight with the words, "She could have killed her." On Earth, citizens who had remained silent for years took to the streets chanting her name. Even some Empire loyalists began to question everything. In the shadows of the arena ship, the High Council panicked. Execute the human. Make her disappear. Blame the rebellion. "Too late," said a hollow voice. It was Xelyra. She stepped into the chamber alone, unarmed, her armor removed. The council froze. "You are dismissed," she said quietly. "We don't take orders from you do now," she said, raising her arm. Behind her, dozens of high-ranked warriors entered, quiet, loyal, armed. They didn't bow to the council. They bowed to her. Xelyra faced them. "Ray beat me. Not because she was stronger, but because she remembered what I forgot." That night, Ray was summoned to the viewing deck. Xelyra stood alone, staring out at the stars. "You caused a storm," she said. "You were the one the galaxy feared." Ray replied, "I just reminded them to look closer." Xelyra turned to her. "They offered me the crown, said I could rule the arena system if I executed you." Ray didn't blink. And Xelyra held out a small metallic badge marked with the Empire's symbol. Then she dropped it. Let it fall off the ledge. "I'd rather be free than feared." The rebellion wasn't won yet, but it had begun, with a girl who had nothing to lose. A champion who remembered her own pain, and a galaxy that, for the first time in a century, had hope. To be continued. Let me know when you're ready for Part 8, final part, Leonardo AI prompt for Part 7, YouTube SEO description. Tags and hashtags for Part 7, standing by to continue. Said :8, ChatGPT said. Part 8. We were never meant to bow. The rebellion had no capital, no throne, no army. But it had a name now, Ray of Earth. Across distant stars, alien children spoke her story like a legend. On slave planets, her image was carved into stone walls and burned into computer screens. On Earth, where the Empire had once crushed every spark of resistance, people now rose in silence. Fists clenched. But inside the arena ship, Ray was. Still just a girl barely healed, breathing through cracked ribs and facing the weight of a revolution she never asked for. Xelyra walked beside her through the silent halls of the ship. No guards, no audience. Just the two of them, warrior and symbol. They'll come for you now, Xelyra said. The High Council, the Emperor himself. Let them, Rey answered. You can't win that kind of war. I don't have to win it, Rey said softly. I just have to light the fuse. In the hidden chambers of the Empire, the Emperor of the Karun watched the rising chaos. Worlds disobeyed orders. Colonies rejected taxes. Armies hesitated. All because of a single human girl. He gave the order without hesitation. Destroy the arena ship, wipe all evidence. End her legacy. Tessa intercepted the message seconds before transmission. She burst into Rey's quarters. They're going to vaporize us. When? 3 hours. They'll launch from the Black Sun relay. No one escapes. Rey stood slowly, tightened. The last wrap around her wrists, and looked to Xelyra. Then we burn their story before they burn us. Xelyra led Rey and Tessa deep into the restricted control decks, where the Empire's broadcast towers connected to the wider galactic feed. Dozens of crew members joined them, engineers, rebels, and even a few quiet warriors who once served. Xelyra, this signal will reach every world, Tessa said. But once we trigger it, they'll know. Rey nodded. Want them to. The feed went live. Rey stood before the camera, no special effects, no speechwriters, just her voice. They built this arena to mock us, to prove that we were weak. They gave us monsters, weapons, death. But they forgot what humans are. We break. We fall. But we don't stay down. We bleed, but we learn. You tried to kill me 100 times. You made me a joke, and I thank you. Because now I'm not just Rey of Earth. I'm every voice you tried to silence. We were never meant to bow. Across the galaxy, people stopped. They listened. Some cried. Some screamed. Some picked up tools, weapons, or memories they'd buried for years. And for the first time in generations, they fought back. The Empire's missile was already in space, its trajectory locked on the arena ship. 1 hour, no way to escape. But Rey and Xelyra had planned for that. Tessa had rerouted the power grid. The arena ship was no longer just a battlefield, was a beacon. Its massive engines turned, not to run but to aim, toward the Black Sun relay, toward the heart of the Empire's launch point. Rey stood on the command deck with Xelyra and Tessa. They want to erase us? She said. Then we show them what it feels like to be erased, Xelyra replied. The arena ship jumped into warp. Stars bent. Time slowed. In one final flash of light, the arena ship collided with the Black Sun relay. A shockwave tore across 3 systems. The missile detonated before it could launch. The Emperor's signal hub turned to dust. The Empire fell silent. Its message machine destroyed. Its greatest champions now rebels. Its story broken. Weeks later, across the stars, a new symbol appeared. Not a crown, not a blade, but a simple mark carved on buildings, scratched into. Stone, drawn on skin, an open hand, and a closed fist, side by side. Hope and resistance. Rey and Xelyra. Human and alien together. Some say Rey died in the crash. Others say she escaped into deep space. Some swear she's building something new on a hidden world. But all of them remember what she proved, that no matter how broken, mocked, or outnumbered we are, humans fight back. And when we do, we change the stars.